Welcome back to the Wheel Scene YouTube channel. Got a little bit of a different one today. Gonna basically do a little bit of skate DIY. So I'm obsessed with looking on Google Maps, finding spots, doing them up, and normally that involves driving around with a brush, a shovel, lacquer, a rub brick, wax, all that stuff to get things set up. But in recent years I've become quite annoyed with how much kind of labour is involved in setting up a ledge. So if it's a rough ledge, you have to rub brick it, then spray lacquer it, which involves doing a bunch of coats, and then you still need to wax it anyway to weigh it in. And if it's a relatively smooth ledge, it doesn't take that long, but you still need to do a long session of sole grinds and royales, wax it some more, sole grinds, royales, wax it some more, and break it in. And it can just be quite annoying and laborious. And it also wears down your sole plates and your frames really quickly, so it's a bit of a kind of false economy because you're having to replace parts sooner. And if it's a rough ledge, you have to do that a lot more, and even then it takes a lot to get an even slide. So at this skate park, in addition to the obstacles, round about the outside of the skate park, they've got these untouched ledges. They've never been waxed, they've never been rub bricked, they've never been lacquered, and they don't get used for anything because they've kind of got objects in the way they run up. They don't have much landing. So today I'm going to experiment with this, which is external gloss lacquer. Now, usually I would use spray can lacquer, but you have to apply like 3 or 4 coats to get any form of effect from it, and even then it only gives you a really thin layer. So I spoke to one of my friends who builds ramps at Unit 23 skate park, and I asked them what they used for the manual pad, which has got a painted curb that slides pretty well. And he said that they use paint, but that's just for aesthetics, and then they cover it in a thick paint on gloss. So I've got some. This is apparently yacht gloss, so I got this from, my yacht that I own from the Wheel Scene YouTube channel, because it's obviously very profitable. So the goal today is, these ledges do not need rub brick. They're nice and smooth, as you can see behind me. Get this long one. Doesn't really need rub bricked, but I want to test out the theory whether or not this works. So I'm going to apply a nice generous dose of this onto a couple of ledges here. There's one behind me, and there's also a curb to ledge transfer. Then I'm going to come back tomorrow, wax it up a little bit and see if it gets a much better slide. And if it does, I'm going to take this theory to a street spot, rub brick a ledge, get this on it, and hopefully it reduces the break-in time and gives me a much more even slide. So I'm going to time everything, see how long it takes me, and you can see how I got on. So it is the next day. I've come back to the ledge and it is still, don't know if you can see that, very wet. So it said it would take up to 36 hours to dry. So I'm gonna leave it for another day, then come back and try waxing it and see how it works. To the touch, it is still looking very, very wet, but it looks like it's got a nice glossy finish, which is a lot better than the last stuff I used, which was concrete sealer, which didn't do anything at all. I tried it on this ledge, and as you can see, there's pretty much zero effect on it. It's basically got markings from where I've painted it, but other than that, there's no difference to the texture whatsoever. So, gonna give it another day, come back, hopefully it'll be dry, and then can try waxing it. It's been about a week now and the gloss is fully dried on the ledge, so I'm going to try and give it a few grinds now without waxing it, just to see how it slides. Then I'm going to give it a kind of thin coat of wax it for about a minute and see how much difference that makes. But it is looking pretty smooth on top, so hopefully it should be good. done a few soles, done a few royales. As to be expected, it does have a little bit of grit, it is a little bit grippy, but it is sliding, and that's without wax. So I'm going to give it a thin coat now, and I think that should make a massive difference. It is already feeling really smooth. I've checked my H-blocks, it's not really wearing them down that badly, so I think we might be on to a winner. Rapid. So just get down to the ledge, and as you can see, with the slightest application of wax, it was sliding rapid. I think I waxed that for less than 30 seconds, and from the first sole grind in Royale, I just knew it was going to absolutely fly. Even managed to get a front salve or an alley unity, depending on your disposition, and a back unity and a back salve. So that's kind of wild. So that's kind of crazy that just one application of that external wood varnish, that gloss varnish, has already created that thick layer, and I think it took me maybe 5 minutes to paint the ledge, maybe less. I think it was around about 3 minutes actually. The only problem with it is it takes a really long time to set. It says on the can that it takes between 2 and 3 days, but I checked it 2 or 3 days later and it was still a bit tacky. It was still coming off in my hands, but after a week it had this really nice smooth finish on it, and even without wax you could see that I could get slides on it, but with wax it was like an absolute dream. So would external gloss be better than using aerosol lacquer? Well, I always carry lacquer with me because it's just handy to have, and I would say that lacquer is probably better in some situations. So for example, if you want to apply it quicker and easier, lacquer is probably better because you don't need a paintbrush, you can just spray it on, and lacquer definitely dries a lot quicker. Lacquer will dry in about an hour in sunny conditions, and you can just keep reapplying coats. But the problem with lacquer is it would never give you as thick a coat on the ledge as that external gloss varnish does. So I would say that aerosol lacquer is probably quicker and easier to apply, but the external gloss is definitely more effective. And I was really surprised that there was just zero resistance after applying a bit of wax. When you use lacquer, you still have to wear it in, and as a result, you have to kind of wear down your sole plates and your frames. But I don't know if you can see, but I've hardly got any groove at all from skating that fresh ledge, and I was mainly doing H-block tricks. So yeah, it's not really done much damage at all. Obviously there's a little bit of wear there because it is a fresh ledge, but nothing too extensive. So depending on your situation, external wood varnish might be the way to go. One thing I will say is though, that lacquer is significantly less expensive than external gloss varnish. For the tub of varnish, or whatever you want to call it, paint can of varnish. It cost about £20 and I used about half the tin to paint that ledge. But then if you're getting better cover, you would probably need more of these, because you can get this for about £5 or £6. I usually get them in bulk on eBay in like 3 packs or 4 packs for like £15 or £20. But if you have to use more of these to get the same amount of coverage, which one's working out better value for money? It's a weird one, because I could now definitely do another ledge with the rest of the paint can. So yeah, interesting one. I would say in certain circumstances, I'd probably still use lacquer. I'd probably still use this on things like chrome rails, because lacquer's quite good for making chrome rails slide. But if it was a ledge that I was willing to invest some time in, and I was happy enough to come back in a few days or a week and then basically get a full coat on it, leave it, let it set, come back and then prep it, I would do that. But if you're on a skate trip or you want to skate the ledge there and then, you're probably better going off with a spray can lacquer. But yeah, just an option to consider. Let me know if you found this video useful, if you've tried it yourself, and speak to you guys soon.